Today we're going to cook a white pasta fazool. That's a pasta fazool that has no tomato in it, from the north of Italy. We have ditalini, we have cannellini beans, and celery. We also have the celery leaves, salt and pepper, garlic, and we're going to probably throw in some other things in there. Let me see. Oh, mushrooms, yes, absolutely. Cut the celery this way and leave the leaves for a little later on in the recipe. Towards the end we're going to put those in. Of course, garlic, 5 or 6 cloves. Cut them up very thick. Now there's a reason for that. I'll tell you about it in a few seconds here. 2 12-ounce cans of chicken broth, only about a tablespoon of butter, and 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and get the ditalini ready in a cup like this, 1 cup of ditalini. Now we start from scratch on the oil. We start to heat it up, and I like to put the butter in with the garlic, and we're going to throw it in there like so. Okay, now here's a trick. If we cut it very, very thick, the garlic that is, the edges are going to turn brown first, and what we want them to do is kind of burn a little bit. That gives it a very distinctive taste. You'll smell it, you'll taste it, and you'll like it. Okay? Now I learned that from a chef Elizabeth down in Miami many years ago. See, now they're just starting to get brown around the edges, and I think it's just about right. And what we're going to do is stop the cooking by throwing the celery in like so. That way they don't burn anymore. And then we're going to put a little bit of salt and pepper on the celery to kind of sweat the celery. And the object here is to cook the celery down. Really cook it down. Now the salt helps, of course. And we're going to wind up with celery that's down to nothing, sort of like what spinach does. Okay, now we let that sweat covered like so. And when we check on it and it's right, then we're going to go ahead and put the broth in. And we're also going to put the pasta in. Now, you know the pasta will cook in 10, 12, 14 minutes, whatever the box says, so that when we do put our pasta in, that's when the clock starts, as soon as the water, the liquid rather, comes to a boil. So okay, we're getting ready here to put the pasta and the broth. Let's go ahead and do it now. Okay, now when it all comes to a boil, that's when we look at the clock and say, okay, 10, 12, 14 minutes, whatever the box says. We'll bring it to a boil. Okay. Let's see how that looks. And go ahead and put the mushrooms in. Also, the celery leaves should go in. And when the ditalini is soft, when it's cooked, you can go ahead and put the beans in. 2 cans of beans. Give it a stir and heat it up really well. The beans are already cooked, but you see, you're putting it in there with the liquid that the beans came in, and that's going to form kind of a creaminess. That's what we're looking for, just like that. Okay, there you have it, pasta fazool. We put some Parmesan Romano on top. Enjoy.